And now, it's Ultimate Combat Radio with your host, Mike Stidham, on 1280 and 104.7 The Zone.
Yeah, take it.
Welcome to this edition of Ultimate Combat Radio. Mike Stidham here, hanging out with a bunch of super excited about this. Jeff Monson is in the studio here with us, so we're going to get to chit-chat with him in just a little bit, but I am kind of in awe of the fact we got one of the biggest names in MMA, and he's got some big news to talk about too. So looking forward to that. But also sitting here with Big Joe. What's going on, Big Joe?
Not a lot. How you doing, Mike?
Joe, now you are what we call our UFC aficionado. What do you have anything really cool to tell us about tonight?
Jeff Monson's in studio. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless right now.
I see that you brought your lovely, the MMA babe, Robertina. Robertina, how you doing, girl?
I'm a little intimidated, but I'm good.
Why are we all so intimidated?
Because Jeff Monson's in the studio.
He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. But he just puts them on way cooler, huh? All right, then also the coach, Krehl Coleman. What's going on over there, Krehl?
Good. It's glad to be back. I missed last week, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, we had you covered. We had the very good-looking and svelte Brandon Kiser. Brandon Kiser.
What's up, Mike?
Now, I understand, Brandon, you've got a hot date tonight.
I do. I have a hot date with a real scary-looking dude over here, but I'm excited, man. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get a little training in tonight, and then we have a big seminar tomorrow.
It was cool. We're talking to the guy who helped set all this up, Adolf, and he says, he's happy to do the radio show, and he's happy to come to the fights, but he's got to train at some point, so we hooked it up. They're going to go up, and you got some guys up there to train with him, Brandon?
I do. I have. I called in all the guys I could.
All right.
And out of about 15 guys I called, every one of them said, heck yeah, I would love to go.
I didn't get the call.
I got to be honest with you.
It wasn't too hard.
I'm a little upset I didn't get the call.
I called a couple people that shook in their boots and said no. So I'm going to give them a bunch of.
I called all the right kind of guys,
right,
guys that have been doing this a long time, but are real respectful guys and willing to get thrown around for Jeff Monson.
You don't
whether
fall
you're willing or not, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you said he puts his pants on one leg at a time, but they're really big pants. This guy's huge.
Yeah, he's a big boy. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the show we just intimated about. We've got a big fight show going on tonight at Club Vegas, 445 South, 400 West. Doors open at 8, and the fights start at 9 o'clock. Let's talk about the card a little bit. One of your favorite people, Joe, Tim Lund, fighting on the card, going up against Hikmat Rami.
Now, Hikmat Rami's the guy that fought K for a little while ago, right? Big guy.
And he brought
a lot of crazy people.
He brought a lot of Iraqis with him. And most notably, I love to tell this story, his corner man takes claim for being the first Iraqi to surrender in the Second Gulf War. So that's his claim to fame, and now he is an American citizen. Being the first to surrender, I guess you get to citizenship.
That was an interesting night. We had Kafer, who had all of his army buddies there. And then Hikmat had all the Iraqis there.
That was at Lumpy's, huh?
Yes.
That was a very interesting show. Yeah, so,
there was more than just the fights in the cage.
The next fight we got going on, Sam De La Rosa going up against Daniel Grass. Now, Sam De La Rosa fought in our show 9 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Back when the show first started, and didn't have a super stellar record back then, but says he's been training, he's come back. So what can happen in 9 years? Who knows? But we're going to see. He did come into the gym, and he looks like he's in shape. But
that's the start, right?
Well, he looks like he can fight.
I'm excited for this fight because both these guys kind of have losing records. They need to get a win. It's going to be an exciting fight.
Right. And here I got to tell you, Daniel Grass has improved. He's gotten better. So I'm looking forward to seeing that fight as well. The next fight, Mike Robinson and Tom Davis, a couple of newcomers, but you know Mike Robinson very well.
Yeah, he's a knucklehead.
he's been coming to the gym the last few weeks, and he has one speed, fifth gear. He goes balls to the wall when he's grappling, and Joe just loves to roll with it.
I have to get a little rough with him sometimes.
just kind of put him back down. But it seems to be a good match in terms of they both have the same body types and all. And they're both newcomers to the game, so those are always kind of fun to watch. The fight that I'm really excited to see are the next two actually, Wade Martinson and Suksam Simpleman. Suksam has been around a while, and he's got some pretty good jiu-jitsu. Wade Martinson, a really good wrestler. I think it's a good style matchup. Suksam's probably a little slicker on the ground in terms of submission, but Wade Martinson is a big, strong kid that can hold position. I think it's just, again, one of those fights that it's going to wind up somewhere, and it's a kind of a coin toss as to who's going to win it.
Is Wade Martinson the younger one or the older one?
He's the tougher one.
The tougher
one?
I
don't know which is older. Which one.
Well, they both seem to bring their A game every time.
No, they're exciting fighters, and especially Martinson's wrestling. Like I said, he's a state, all state level type wrestler. So he's not, just a kid that can take you down, but he's a kid that can take you down the whole position. And he recognizes enough submission that he's able to kind of stay out of trouble.
He took Kyle Herrera down
Right.
and kept him down, and that's a hard thing to do.
Kyle's
That's
a
not
tough
easy,
kid.
yeah.
So I think that's going to be a pretty good fight. And then your main event, it's got a couple of heavyweights. We had Lolo Tuiaki in studio with us last week. He's a funny guy, man. He's a ham, but he's a tough kid going up against another tough kid coming all the way out from Vernal and Trevor Collett.
Two big dudes. I saw
Lot
them
of
last night at
weight
weigh-ins. They're some
there.
big guys.
They're big guys, but they're both athletes too.
Yeah.
Which and you look at Lolo Tuiaki. I was kind of teasing him last week on the show because he says he does P90X, and he doesn't look like what I would you'd see on the cover of a P90X DVD because he's not chiseled per se, but he is a kid. Brandon, you know this. He's an athletic kid, and he's got really good timing and all those other things that make a good fighter.
He's a great athlete. He's big. He's strong. He's got a great boxing background, and then he alluded last week to training at Unified Jiu-Jitsu, so that's really going to complete his game.
Yeah,
He's
he's
seeing the new and improved Lolo.
Pua boxer, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so and then he's also one of those kids that he's coachable and teachable. He's not just a big big brute. He's a kid that you tell him something and he's going to work on it. He's going to try to get better at it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he looks like. It's been a little while since we've had him in the cage, but we talked a little bit last week about Trevor Collett. He's just a big brute. He's just a big guy that's used to bullying people around, and so an interesting matchup. I really think this could go either way, but I don't think it's going to go very long.
Is he a wrestler being from
He
Vernal?
wrestled in Vernal, but like we kind of mentioned last week, he's a kid that he's got heavy hands. He's got a one punch, very dangerous one punch. But you're not going to see a whole lot of pretty combinations out of him. But he's dangerous. So it should be an interesting fight. Looking forward to that. But the big news of the week is tomorrow morning, we've got a big seminar going on over at the Ultimate Combat Training Center. And if you haven't been by, we just moved out to Draper. It's located at 12101 South State Street. It's actually on Factory Outlet Drive, but State Street turns into Factory Outlet Drive. If you've never been to the VF Factory Outlet Mall, it's right behind the big water slides you see out there off the I-15 freeway. And we got a new facility in there, and we're trying to, how should we say, christen it by having one of the biggest names in not only mixed martial arts but grappling. One of the top grapplers in the world is going to come to a seminar there tomorrow, and Jeff Monson, we're excited about that.
What time's that going on, Mike?
Starts at 10. We're
Okay.
going to get you up at 10. We're good there, right? He's going to tell us when it starts. All
right.
Whenever he said 10 o'clock, and looking for about a 3-hour seminar. So we're going to talk to Jeff in a little bit when we come back after the break. I've really been excited about the opportunity to talk to him about not just fighting, but kind of some of the other things that is Jeff Monson. And then he also gave us some other big news that we're going to announce in a moment here. So looking forward to that. Joe, let's shift gears just a little bit. You've got some tough stuff, or you got some UFC stuff. What do you got for us?
We got the Ultimate Fighter. Excuse me. We got Ultimate Fighter from Wednesday. They had the 2 wild card fights, and I don't know if you know what the wild card is. They start out with 14 fighters, and they get down to after all the fights, they have 7 guys, and to round it off to 8, they do a wild card, and they bring in the 2 fighters they think that deserve a chance to
Two of
fight
the guys
again.
that lost, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 2 of the guys that lost said that they deserve another
can come
chance.
back.
So they get it.
Now, didn't that happen with Court? Didn't he get disqualified or something?
Well, Court wasn't a wild card, but somebody got hurt, so they threw Court back in his spot because he got cheated on by the
Well,
judges.
they said that. It was a controversial.
Yeah, and Dana White said he didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to make it up.
Then he ends up
bad-
winning the whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it was a much better episode than previous ones. Good fight.
So the last couple of weeks, you've been kind of talking about how the show just sucks this year as opposed to the years past. And so do you feel like they've kind of redeemed themselves? Are they kind of back on track?
I don't think they redeemed themselves, but the one thing I liked about this episode is Brock Lesnar actually coached. He looked like he took an interest in the guy that was coming back to fight again.
Yeah,
and
he finally did actually get in and do some coaching. I noticed that as well. Before he's just kind of been on the sideline but not really doing anything. And this time he actually took some time, spent some time with the guy. There was a controversy. Len wanted in. Len didn't get it. he's talking about how he would take on Lesnar. And
Yeah.
Well, now I was reading something on the internet today, which, believe it or not, I was actually reading something about MMA.
You can read?
Yeah, they had pictures as well, so it was kind of nice. But I don't normally follow mixed martial arts as a fan, and you guys know that. But I was kind of doing a little research on Jeff Monson, and I came across some things that I understand that now that Brock Lesnar is saying that he's out fighting, he's done.
He is not. He's not done fighting.
He's not
but
fighting this fight coming up.
Yeah, the fight with Junior Dos Santos
is still an issue,
Yeah.
and there's been some talk that maybe that was what was affecting him on the show, that his coaching wasn't really up to par, because I've had diverticulitis. It's miserable. It's miserable.
Apparently, it flares up and it never goes away unless you have the surgery.
Am I the only one that doesn't know what it is?
It hurts. It just
hurts.
What I understood was, I don't know what the doctor told me. You get an infection in your intestine, and it could be. I used to eat a lot of sunflower seeds, and the doctor says don't do that anymore, because sometimes you swallow the shell and it can get caught in there, and you get an infection. It's just so miserable. You're just miserable. Your gut just feels like it's going to explode, and it's I can only imagine.
Deadly, right?
Yeah, it can be. But and he's a big dude, and it's just those little bugs are taking down the big dude, So
Well,
was that the reason he actually missed when Len fought? Remember, he had to leave? Or
no idea.
Do we not know that?
They've been real close to the chest about details of it, and really, I mean, with somebody's health, you probably should be anyway, with HIPAA laws and all that kind of thing. But it's really up to Brock whether how public he wants to make things. But it would certainly seem to make sense, because Brock's a WWE guy, man. Yeah. He's a guy with a lot of personality, and if he hasn't been showing any of it on the show, maybe that explains it.
Well, and he said he's been sick for 3 months.
Yeah, it can knock you down and out.
Shouldn't he have been to the doctor by now?
Well, they say you don't have to do anything about it. You just let it go away or whatever. Or you can get the surgery and you'll be down for.
Oh.
Yeah, and I got to say, it says a lot about Brock, too, because having been there, knowing how debilitating it is, the fact that he's even trying to work through it and, trying to coach through it or whatever, I think it says a lot about the guy that, he's not one of those guys going to get a hangnail and then bail on you. So, yeah, I mean, that could be a possible explanation.
Yeah. Luckily, he had Erik Poulsan there to help him out.
So I heard that Erik Poulsan guy knows a thing or two about MMA.
That's what Brandon tells us.
For those of you who haven't been listening to the program, we had old Erik Poulsan here a couple of weeks ago, and boy, what a cool guy! And
he really
that,
was.
I think you're right. Not having watched the show, I would imagine he's been a pretty good addition to Lesnar's coaching.
When they show the actual coaching of the guys, you see Erik Poulsan. You don't see never talks, he never says anything, but he's always in there working, doing mitts, and he's the one that is always working people.
Yeah. So that's it, man. So the show got a little bit better, and so what happened?
One guy won. And
one guy beat the other guy.
Well, it was finally not a decision, too. He actually submitted himself.
Yeah, there was a submission with the Darce choke. It was pretty nice.
So whose team is now ahead? And what's
they're tied 4-4, so they're going into the
quarterfinals.
And I understand, as it is, if you win, then you get to kind of set up the next fight. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, but now they're down to the quarterfinals where Dana White set up the next fights, and they go from there.
I see.
And then Ramsey Najim from Utah,
he's a Salt Lake fight guy.
Yeah,
yep.
he is the first fight of the quarterfinals.
So he's in the quarterfinals. And who's he fighting? Does he have a tough matchup?
I can't remember who
he's fighting.
They're all fairly tough at this point, but they say they think Ramsey may be the toughest guy on junior.
I think Ramsey Najim wins it. He's by far the.
You think he wins the whole thing?
Yeah,
with his purple toenails.
Yeah, he's quite the character, but I think he's a better fighter. He just has more heart than all those guys.
Okay, so when is the tough finals? Do you have the date on that?
It's the end of June, I believe. I think it's a month away because.
The 28th, I think.
Yeah, something like that. We're getting pretty close to the end, so.
Right next to Robertina's birthday, I understand.
And yours.
I remembered that. All right, so
you remember that from last year?
Yeah, vaguely. It was all a blur. So, all right, we're looking forward to seeing what's going on, and I wonder want to kind of follow what happens with the local guy, because it really has some significance here. So maybe next week you can bring us a little bit of love or some insight into what's going on with him, or what his path to the championship will be.
Robertina has actually been in contact with some people trying to get him on the show. So.
Been in contact with some people.
My people are calling their people. It's just going to happen.
Which means Robertina has tweeted them.
No, in my defense, this time
Wouldn't
I
it be twat
Facebooked.
if it's past tense?
Can you
past
say
tense.
that?
I didn't refer to anything other than past tense tweeting.
Oh, man.
Your response is what should be banned from the airwaves.
On that note, we should probably take a commercial.
I think we probably should as well. Jeff Monson on Ultimate Combat Radio when we come back.